Hi everyone, I hope you're all really well. In light of Mental Health Awareness Week, I thought I'd share a quick recipe for apple fritters. It's really easy, totally scrumptious, and only requires 4 ingredients. I want to say, especially this week, that learning to look after ourselves is extremely important to our mental health, and that eating well and enjoying what we eat is a big part of that picture. We know that eating healthily is an important goal to maintain over time. Of course, this means eating a variety of foods, especially fresh fruit, veg, whole grains, enough protein, and avoiding too much highly processed stuff like junk food and takeaway meals. We also know that eating healthily underpins both our physical and mental health, and there's plenty of scientific evidence, as well as the evidence of our own experience, to support this. So, the pleasure we take in food is extremely important. Remember the 80-20 rule. The wisdom here is that it pays to eat well and healthily 80% of the time, but to also to remember to experience pleasure in the food you really love. This means sometimes giving yourself a break from the striving and discipline and prepare and eat something that just gives us a lot of pleasure. My message for you in regards to food and good mental health is about enjoying simple pleasures. As often as possible, let your mind and body experience joy in the food you cook and eat. So keep it simple and start with a few good ingredients. Let good food do the rest to soothe, feed, delight, and restore your mind and body. I hope you like this recipe. It's delicious and kind of difficult not to enjoy. Hi everybody. I wanted to share with you a really simple recipe for apple fritters that I learned from Jacques Pepin, the French chef who is originally from Lyon and now is based in the United States. I really love this recipe because it's super simple and magical. Magical because it starts with a few, 3 or 4 larder ingredients, and a few minutes later you have something that's golden and delicious and really super enjoyable to eat. This recipe, of course, is with apples, but you could use other kinds of fruit as well. So sliced pears would work, papaya, berries, and the same batter works equally well with vegetables. So you could use thinly sliced carrots, sliced courgettes, or even a handful of fresh shredded parsley or fresh shredded basil. I really hope you enjoy it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to heat up some vegetable oil in a skillet over a medium heat. And I'm using about 1/4 to 1/3 cup of oil. Then we'll make the batter. The batter uses a 1/2 cup of plain flour, a pinch of salt. We're going to use beer to leaven the batter. And if you don't have beer or you don't want to use beer, then you could use fizzy mineral water as well, or you could use non-alcoholic beer. All of those would work just fine. So we're going to use about the same amount of beer as flour. That was a 1/2 cup. I'm going to start with just about half of the beer that I actually need to make a thick batter. So making a thick batter first makes it a lot easier to get the lumps out, because you can see them, you can get to them. And then add the remaining beer until the consistency is like thick cream. Next, we'll take a large apple or 2 medium-sized apples, and you can either peel them or leave them unpeeled or peel them halfway. Now, leaving the apple whole, you can take off sides of the apple, being careful not to cut into the core where the seeds are. And this you can discard. Then you can make thin slices like this. And you can leave the slices as they are in the fritter, or you can coarsely chop these. And now add the apples to the batter. And then just mix them well together. Okay, next we want to test the heat of the oil and make sure that it's hot enough. So you can just take a drop of the batter into the oil, and yeah, that looks like that's about right. It's sizzling, and I think that'll be fine. Then just spoon the apples in the batter into the measuring cup, like that. And you can spoon a little bit more of the batter and the apples that are left over on top. Right, and you want to let those fry about 3 minutes on each side until they're golden brown. Right, so that's been about 3 or 4 minutes. Let's take a peek and see how they're doing. And then carefully turn them over. And those are looking pretty good. Now, we'll give the remaining side another 3 minutes or so. Okay, so that's been about 3 or 4 minutes on the other side. Let's see how they look. Right, so that looks delicious. The smell is just great. Next step is to drain them, and what I suggest doing is instead of draining them on paper towel, if you've got a rack, use a rack, because it will help it to drip dry, if you will, and not become so soggy. When it's on the paper towel, it ends up steaming the fritter, which is not the end of the world, but it won't be as crisp on just the paper towel. Great. And let these cool just a bit, so obviously you don't burn yourself eating them. And they can be served warm. If they cool down completely, you can always pop them in, if you have a microwave, pop them in the microwave for about 20 seconds and they'll be good to go. Right, and just before serving, you can sprinkle some sugar on top. Or if you prefer powdered sugar and you have it, you can sprinkle some of that instead. And there you go, apple fritters. I really hope you enjoy them.